Imagine this. It's the early 2000s and you are sitting in a high-rise office, looking at the gold standard of computing sitting on your desk. It is a sleek black IBM ThinkPad, the ultimate status symbol for every serious professional from Wall Street to Silicon Valley. Now, imagine the absolute collective gasp that echoed through the entire tech world when a company most people in the West could not even pronounce decided to buy that entire division. We are talking about one of the most insane business plot twists in history. Is this the biggest glow up the corporate world has ever seen? You better believe it is. It was like a local garage band suddenly buying out the rights to the entire catalog of the Beatles. People were stunned, confused, and honestly, more than a little bit skeptical. But how exactly did we get here? How did a tiny, cramped laboratory hidden away in a Beijing guard shack transform into the undisputed king of the global PC market, while every other tech giant was looking the other way? It sounds like a movie script, but this is the real-life story of Lenovo. To understand the magic behind this rise, we have to travel back to 1984. Our protagonist, Liu Chuanji, started out with just 10 other engineers and a very modest dream. They were not building supercomputers or sleek laptops yet. In those early days, they were literally trying to figure out how to sell digital watches and televisions just to keep the lights on and the rent paid. They called themselves Legend. It is a bold, ambitious name for a group operating out of a shack, right? But as they started to find their footing and eye the global stage, they hit a massive, unexpected roadblock. The name Legend was already trademarked by about 1 billion other companies outside of China. Talk about a legal nightmare. Imagine trying to conquer the world but realizing you cannot even put your own name on the front door. This led to a bombastic and risky rebranding in 2003. They took the Li from Legend and added Novo, the Latin word for new. Thus, the brand Lenovo was born. But was there more to this name change than just legal paperwork? Rumors at the time whispered about a desperate need to shed their local image and go full international before the big industry sharks swallowed them whole. They needed a name that sounded global, and they needed it fast. Then came the year 2005, the moment that sent a literal shockwave through the entire technology industry. Lenovo announced they were buying IBM's personal computing division for a staggering $125 billion. It was the breakup heard around the world. Critics and market skeptics were absolutely savage in their assessments. They thought IBM was simply dumping a dying, low-margin asset on a naive newcomer. Others wondered if Lenovo was playing some incredibly high-stakes 4D chess that no one else understood yet. Think about the optics. An American icon, the very creator of the modern PC, was handing over its keys to a Chinese firm that was still relatively unknown in the United States. It felt like the end of an era for Big Blue, but for Lenovo, it was the ultimate power move. They did not just buy a factory or a bunch of patents. They bought the prestigious ThinkPad brand and the decades of engineering excellence that came with it. This meteoric rise is honestly mind-blowing when you look at the raw data. We are talking about a group of guys who started in a tiny guard shack and eventually grew to dominate every single office desk on the planet, from selling circuit boards to becoming the #1 PC maker in the world. Their journey is the literal definition of an underdog story. They managed to outpace massive giants like HP and Dell by being faster, grittier, and maybe just a little bit luckier. Before we continue this wild ride into the boardrooms of the future, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. We love seeing our global community grow. Now, you might think it was all champagne toasts and high fives after that historic IBM deal, but you could not be more wrong. It was not all smooth sailing. There is a secret reason why this deal almost turned into a total disaster before the ink was even dry on the contracts. While the CEOs were smiling for the cameras, the critics were whispering in the hallways about cultural clashes and a looming failure that could have bankrupted the entire company. Do you want to know what the skeptics were actually saying behind closed doors? The drama was just getting started, and the stakes were higher than anyone realized. To really understand how Lenovo managed to hold on to that massive IBM crown, we have to look at the two men steering the ship. First, there is the legendary Liu Chuanji. He is the visionary mentor, the guy who survived the harsh realities of early Chinese entrepreneurship in that tiny guard shack we mentioned. He provided the steady hand and the cultural foundation for the entire empire. But then enters Yang Yuanqing, the protege and the man often described as the strategist who truly took the fight to the west. While Liu was the soul of the company, Yang was the muscle. He was aggressive, ambitious, and absolutely obsessed with making Lenovo a household name from New York to London. He wasn't afraid to walk into a room full of high-powered suits and tell them that the future of technology belonged to a company they'd barely heard of. This mentor-successor dynamic was the secret engine behind their survival. But man, the relationship drama behind the scenes of the IBM acquisition was like something out of a movie. It wasn't just about moving billions of dollars. It was a total culture clash. Imagine the scene. You have these conservative, traditional American engineers from IBM, used to a very specific corporate way of doing things, suddenly being managed by aggressive, fast-moving Chinese entrepreneurs. The tea is absolutely boiling on this one. There were reports of massive misunderstandings. The Americans were used to a very structured 9-to-5 environment, while the Lenovo team brought an underdog, work until it's done energy. Could a brand from the East really manage an American icon without destroying its soul? It was a high-stakes social experiment that played out in real time across global boardrooms. If you thought they'd stop at IBM and just relax, you clearly don't know Yang Yuanking's appetite for expansion. Lenovo seemed to develop an addiction to growth. They started dating tech companies all over the map. They grabbed Medion in Germany to dominate the European market, and then they locked eyes with NEC in Japan to secure their dominance in the Asian tech landscape. It felt like they were trying to buy every friend they could find on the playground. Their strategy was simple. Find a respected local brand that was struggling, buy it, and then inject it with Lenovo's massive manufacturing efficiency. This protect and attack strategy became their signature move. Then came the move that really made heads turn, the Motorola rebound. In 2014, Lenovo bought Motorola Mobility from Google. Why would they buy a brand that even a giant like Google seemed to be giving up on? Was it a desperate move to finally get into the cool kids club of the smartphone world? Or was it a genius power play? Lenovo knew that to be a true tech titan, they couldn't just live on your office desk, they had to be in your pocket too. It was a brilliant move to get instant access to the massive US mobile market and a treasure trove of patents. They weren't just buying a phone company, they were buying a seat at the table with Apple and Samsung. Now, let's talk about the secret sauce. How did they keep the ThinkPad prestige alive while aggressively lowering costs? This is where the critics really sharpened their knives. People were terrified that Lenovo would turn the legendary indestructible ThinkPad into a piece of cheap plastic. But here is the kicker. They actually kept the core engineering teams intact. They balanced the rich IBM heritage with modern designs, giving birth to the sleek X1 Carbon. They managed to ride on IBM's former glory while making the brand feel fresh again. They proved they weren't just cost cutters, they were true innovators. However, with all this global power and expansion, the side eye started getting intense. As Lenovo machines began filling up government offices and even military bases around the world, people started asking some very uncomfortable questions. You won't believe the dark rumors and whispers that started circulating about what was actually hidden inside those motherboards. While the world was looking at the sleek designs, others were looking deep into the code. And the things they thought they found? Well, that is where the story takes a very dark turn that had everyone looking over their shoulders. As Lenovo's machines started filling up government offices and even military bases around the world, the side eye from Western competitors shifted from healthy skepticism to full-blown panic. This brings us to the juiciest rumors in the tech world, the security concerns that have followed Lenovo like a shadow. Is Lenovo the bad boy of the industry, or is this just a case of massive jealousy from rivals who couldn't keep up? We've all heard the whispers about backdoors and hidden chips, especially after the 2005 deal. Government agencies in the US and UK reportedly flagged certain models for fear of espionage. While Lenovo consistently denies these claims, inviting auditors to tear hardware apart, the spy tag is hard to shake. Is it a genuine threat or a convenient tool to slow down a brand winning too fast? Critics point at ties to the Chinese government, but the company insists they are a global entity with headquarters in both Beijing and North Carolina. It's a high-stakes he said, she said that keeps boardrooms tense. Meanwhile, if you want to see where the real action is, look at the internet's favorite battlefield, social media. The ThinkPad cult on Reddit is intense. These fans defend their sturdy black boxes with passion. They obsess over the red nipple or track point, arguing that anyone using a touchpad is living in the Stone Age. It's a wild contrast to the MacBook elitists who value aesthetics above all else. You'll find endless threads where ThinkPad loyalists mock the fragile frames of competitors, showing off ancient machines that still run perfectly. The fan wars get messy, but this unfiltered passion has kept the brand alive while others faded away. But Lenovo knew they couldn't just rely on nostalgic professionals forever. They needed to get cool fast. Enter the yoga revolution. In a move that bent the rules of design, Lenovo released the first 2-in-1 laptops that could flip 360 degrees. Was it a trend or just a gimmick? At first people laughed, but then realized how useful it was to turn a laptop into a tablet for a flight. It wasn't just a computer. It was a statement that Lenovo could be fun and creative. This bent-over backwards approach completely changed their image from boring office gear to must-have tech for creators. It was a masterstroke that proved they weren't just riding on IBM's glory any longer. While Lenovo was busy flipping laptops, their rivals weren't sitting still. The competition triangle between HP, Dell, and Lenovo is the ultimate corporate soap opera. These three are locked in a never-ending popularity contest, swapping the global market share. One year HP wins with a massive contract, the next Dell takes the lead with high-end workstations, but Lenovo always finds a way back. The data might surprise you, but Lenovo's ability to dominate education and enterprise simultaneously is what keeps them so dangerous. They are masters of the volume game, and their supply chain efficiency is something even the biggest American giants envy. So what's next for the company that started in a guard shack? The speculation corner is on fire. Rumors are flying about Lenovo Auto, out with rivals like Xiaomi already dipping their toes into the electric vehicle market. It's not a stretch to imagine a Lenovo branded car. Could you imagine a vehicle with the durability of a ThinkPad? Fans joke that it would be indestructible, featuring a dashboard with a giant red button in the center. Whether it's cars or a massive takeover of another tech giant, one thing is certain: Yang Yuanqing and his team are never satisfied. Are they the ultimate success story or a ticking time bomb of corporate expansion? The verdict isn't easy. On one hand, they've saved an American icon and built a global empire. On the other, they navigate geopolitical tensions daily. What do you think? Is your next laptop a Lenovo, or are you staying loyal elsewhere? Stick around, because their next move might change how you use the internet.